Okay, so the White House has said we can't find who put the cocaine in the White House. We have no idea. This is supposed to be the most secure building in the world, the White House, and yet they cannot find who did it. They don't know who maybe put the cocaine. Many of us suspect they absolutely do know. How could the most secure building in the world, in the country, not have cameras absolutely everywhere? How could they not see? It just seems like they absolutely know who did it, and they're just covering it up. They don't want to implicate, everybody's kind of pointing the finger at Hunter Biden because he has a history of drug use. And also there was this video that was circulating around when he was at the White House around 4th of July, and it looked like he was snorting cocaine. I think we have that. Do we? Yeah, here's them in the background. Look, people are like, oh, is he doing a bump of cocaine in the background there? I think he was just messing with his hair, but then he does touch his nose. So everybody's kind of pointing the finger at Hunter Biden. And then the fact that they're not finding anybody, it's even more suspicious. But we have Marjorie Taylor Greene. She actually kind of breaks down what they found, where they found it, and then she's got a solution to how she wants to find the culprit, but I believe it to be unconstitutional, but here it is.
The real concern here is American citizens every single day go through drug tests as part of their employment for their jobs. This is a common practice. Just speaking with the Secret Service now, my question to them was they were able to narrow down a list of approximately 500 people that had left a small bag of cocaine in a cubby. Now, these are cubbies that are controlled by the administration, not by the Secret Service, when they enter into the foyer off the West Executive entrance. This cocaine was found there, so they were able to bring the list, narrow it down to approximately 500 people. My question to them was, have they drug tested this list of 500 potential suspects that brought an illegal substance, a drug, cocaine, into the White House? Their answer was no, and that they're unwilling to do so. It makes no sense to me whatsoever why they would not follow through on one simple task, and that is to drug test a list of 500 people that they have that are potential suspects for this, when the American people every single day go through drug tests in order to do a job, by the way, that brings them a paycheck where they have to pay their taxes. And guess what? Their tax dollars go to pay for all of our salaries, and they pay for the Secret Service. This is a failure of this investigation to not perform a drug test on these people, this list of approximately 500 potential suspects. There are other concerns there as well. How there's a cubby box that has a key, how they found that it left open and the drugs were in there. There's also a failure with the amount of cameras they have, and I just don't find the excuses on how we can't find out who had cocaine in the White House.
Okay, so the White House has closed the investigation. They say they've closed it due to a lack of physical evidence. They say without physical evidence, the investigation will not be able to single out a person of interest from the hundreds of individuals who passed through the vestibule where the cocaine was discovered. That's what the Secret Service said in a statement. Basically, what was confirmed was that a 1 gram of cocaine was found July 2nd by a Secret Service agent in a storage locker inside the West Wing executive entrance, and that no cameras were in position to capture footage of the culprit. Okay, sounds a lot like Jeffrey Epstein right now, right? Like, there just happened to be no cameras when, maybe or maybe not Hunter Biden was like sneaking cocaine around, right? Then says, and I don't know who, I'm sure there's a lot of people obviously there's a lot of people who do cocaine. It's it's a huge industry, mostly here in the United States from Latin America. And so, it really could have been anybody. Which is a problem, right? It says the cocaine was found in one of 182 lockers with the key missing. They also said that investigators told lawmakers that they were unable to determine exactly when the cocaine was left in the locker due to the lack of footage because there's no cameras. And this vestibule is located by the basement entrance to the West Wing, one floor below the Oval Office and steps away from the Situation Room. Are you kidding me? There's no cameras. Does anybody believe that? That just seems really odd. Like, but then again, I can't imagine that they're not going to have cameras just so somebody could sneak cocaine in. But I would imagine the person who brought cocaine in knew that there were no cameras in there. That would be my guess, right? So that means, so now this is what Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying. She was saying that they were able to narrow down the list of approximately 500 people so that had gone through that area. And that includes people who work at the West Wing. It also includes visitors. So she's saying we should drug test all these 500 people because why? What's the problem? People get drug tested all the time for their jobs. So why can't we just drug test these 500 people? Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's called the Fourth Amendment. You're not allowed to just search or seize a person without any probable cause, and collecting somebody's urine has been established some way. You don't have to have a warrant in order to, there are some circumstances where you can drug test and you don't need to get, a court or, a warrant or something in order to do that. And those are in cases of your job. There are certain jobs that have been carved out to where, for example, you work with firearms, you work in certain transportation, you're operating equipment that would be dangerous to yourself or to other people. You work around drugs themselves. And so there might be some instances where it is considered okay for you to be drug tested for your job. But it's pretty strict. Like, you have to have, your job would have to be a job that puts others in danger or that puts yourself in danger. And that is why they would need to drug test you. You can't just randomly drug test like your secretary necessarily. You can't just randomly drug test people. So you can't go around and just randomly drug test people because they happen to be in a room where at one point drugs were found. I mean, then the government would be able to drug test all of us. Why not, right? Just drug test everybody. So that was her solution. Luckily, Lauren Boebert, who's, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, I don't think they're friends. I think they fight. There's some squabble I think I read about recently. But they're both Republicans, high profile. People make fun of both of them quite a bit. But Lauren Boebert actually said, no, we're not going to, drug testing's kind of unconstitutional. So maybe we shouldn't be going down that road, Marjorie Taylor Greene. But that just goes to show, not all Republicans are for freedom and liberty, because there's one right there that wants to drug test you just because you happen to be in a building where there was drugs. You have to pass through a door in an area where drugs were found. So, but case closed. We're never going to find out who left the cocaine in the White House. That is part of me wonders if it's just a sham, if they're just making this whole thing up so they can say, we need greater security. We need to amp it up. We need to beef it up. We need to spend more money to secure the White House, because if we can't even find somebody who left cocaine behind, we need to up the security, as we saw them do with Capitol building after January 6th. So I just kind of wonder, is part of this a ruse to get more money, more security for the White House, because they're afraid of they're afraid of what could happen. They're afraid of the next election. They're afraid of the next administration. I don't know. Just this whole thing it just isn't passing the smell test, right? It just feels a little weird. But that's what we got at the moment when it comes to that. All right, I want to move on to something really important. Actually, let's Field of Greens. I want to tell you first about Field of Greens. I love this stuff. It is a fine powder made from dehydrated whole fruits and vegetables that are carefully selected to give you the most nutrients in your diet possible. So all you do is you just take a scoop of this powder, you mix it into your ice water and shake it up in a shaker bottle, and it tastes delicious. I really love the lemon lime flavor, but they also have mixed berry, they have energy, they have regular flavor, and it is just such an easy way to get all of your fruits and vegetables into your diet. And I really do like that lemon lime flavor personally. They have a lot of other products on their website. So they do have products to help rev up your metabolism called Lean. That's also a product I really like. So there's a lot of stuff you could choose from there, but definitely head there, grab your Field of Greens, grab what other products you want. And when you go to checkout, use the promo code Kim, and you're going to get 15% off your first order. Okay. Biden has activated 3,000 reservists and is sending them to Europe. This is just a day after saying that Putin is losing. But let's get to let's play the clip of him saying Putin is lost, because this is where it gets head scratching. If Putin has lost the war already, then why are we activating 3,000 troops and sending them to Europe? in Operation Atlantic Resolve, which is to stop Russia. So let's go ahead and play this clip of Biden, and he's wrapping up in Helsinki at the NATO. He's been over there doing NATO stuff, and so here he is.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've said that Ukraine shouldn't enter NATO until after the war is over. Are you concerned at all that those comments could motivate Putin to keep the war going or discourage him from entering peace negotiations? And is there a serious risk that this war could drag on for years? And do you see any path toward the war ending with Putin still in power?
First of all, no one can join NATO while a war is going on, where a NATO nation is being attacked, because that guarantees that we're in a war, and we're in a third world war. So that it's not about whether or not they should or shouldn't join. It's about when they can join, and they will join NATO. The issue of whether or not this is going to keep Putin from continuing to fight, the answer is Putin's already lost the war. Putin has a real problem. How does he move from here? What does he do? And so the idea that there's going to be what vehicle is used, he could end the war tomorrow. He could just say, I'm out. But what agreement is ultimately reached depends upon Putin and what he decides to do. But there is no possibility of him winning the war in Ukraine. He's already lost that war. Imagine anyway, he's already lost that war.
Okay, he's already lost that war, but we've sent cluster munitions over to Ukraine, which is kind of an act of desperation. And now, even more alarming today, is they've announced, Biden announced the ordering of select reserve and certain members of the individual ready reserve of the armed forces to active duty, saying here, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including sections 121 and 12304 of Title 10 United States Code, I hereby determine that it is necessary to augment the active armed forces of the United States for their effective conduct of Operation Atlantic Resolve in and around the United States European Command's area of responsibility. In furtherance of this operation under the stated authority, I hereby authorize the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security with respect to the Coast Guard when it is not operating as a service in the Navy under their respective jurisdictions to order to active duty any units and any individual members not assigned to a unit organized to serve as a unit of the selected reserve or any member in the individual ready reserve mobilization category and designated as essential under regulations prescribed by the Secretary concerned, not to exceed 3,000 total members at any one time, of whom not more than 450 may be members of the individual ready reserve as they deem necessary, and to terminate the service of those units and members ordered to active duty. So 3,000 reservists are being activated and sent to Europe. So that's interesting. Yet, according to Biden, Putin's already lost the war. Doesn't sound like it. So we will definitely be keeping our eye on that. You know, many of us would like to see a reduction in troops around the world. That's what we've been hoping to see, is a reduction. And yet now we're seeing an increase, and to Europe. So what are they planning? What are they getting ready for? This is kind of eyebrow raising and kind of alarming, right? Operation Atlantic Reserve is very specifically the United States. It says right here, the United States continues to demonstrate its commitment to the collective security of our NATO allies and support for our partners in Europe in light of the ongoing Russian intervention in Ukraine. So this is directly, it even says Russia's aggressive actions have already led many to call for reinforcing NATO's readiness through Article 5 related planning, training, and adjustments to force posture. So this Operation Atlantic Resolve is specifically about Russia. Operation Atlantic Resolve came into play in July of 2014. So this is after Russia went in and annexed Crimea, and that's when they started Operation Atlantic Resolve. But he's very specifically deploying those, activating and deploying those 3,000 troops for Operation Atlantic Resolve, which is specifically about Russia. So that is what we know. One last thing, I just wanted to play this one last clip for you before we move on with the show. We do have a great guest coming up. And we're going to be talking about the effectiveness of masks, and there's and a lot of stuff to do with the pandemic. But first, Zelensky, he said this today about, or maybe this was yesterday. This was in Europe, right? So it's like, was it yesterday? Was it today? But he said this about taking American money when it comes to the war.
And you gave us huge support. I want to thank to all Americans. We understand that it's more than 43 billion for today. It's big support, and I understand that it's all your money, but you have to know that you spend this money for not just for fighting. You spend this money for our lives, and I think that we save the lives for Europe and for all the world.
So there it is. I mean, it just doesn't look like we're going to be reaching a peace agreement anytime soon. If Ukraine believes that us funding them and giving them a bunch of military support is helping them save lives, I would think that a peace agreement would actually help them save lives. You've got Biden sending troops over, sending cluster munitions. It doesn't look like this thing is ending anytime soon.